Hey everybody, welcome to the D. Louise book series. I'm Christine. Now let me just bring this a little closer. How y'all doing today? How's it going? I'm Christina, Kristina. This is the D. Louise series where we read books, talk about books, series books, no special effects, nothing special going on here. I like to read series books. All those books up there are on series. I hope you checked out my video tour the other day of my bookcase. I could use some likes and subscribes. So if you've already subscribed, thank you very much. But I could use more. It's not like, this channel is growing microscopically. You hear all those you hear all those people go, oh, I got 1,000 subscribers in a week and you could do this too, blah, 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 blah. I'm 100% proof that, it is so not going to work. So not going to work. My channel is been on it over a year now, and this is where we stand. Where'd the red line come from? Hey, Smoke! Smoke! Come here, Smoke. My emotional support cat died a few months ago, and if I'd have called his butt, he'd have been here. But anyway, we are talking about Betrayal of Trust, book 20 in the J.P. Beaumont series. Oh, look who decided to show up. This was really good. This was one of the, I enjoyed this book. It was good. It was fast moving. It was fast paced. Single point of view, unlike the last one. So it was really good. I enjoyed it. The circumstances were horrific, but the book itself was good. Ross and Mel, JP and Mel worked together this case, and I liked the fact that they both worked together simultaneously on the whole case. It was good. We got some catch up with family, and we're going to get to that in a minute. We got some character catch up, character progression, him and the kids and stuff like that. But after the last one, which was mostly a Joanna Brady one, this is mostly JP and Mel, and it's totally from their POV. And I think I really like that. So they work for I don't have to do too much spiel because there isn't too much characterization in this. But JP used to be a police officer for Seattle Police Department, and when one of the people that he disliked the most got promoted, he quit. And he was able to do that because he had a huge inheritance from his second wife. So anyway, he's now married to Mel, and they work as homicide detectives for the Attorney General of the state of Washington. So they can do cases all over the state. And the guy calls him, their boss, Harry, calls him and says, Ross, the Attorney General, wants you to investigate this particular case. So it happens to involve the governor of the state. So they go to the governor's house and discover the governor has a blended family, I believe is what they call it nowadays. In my era, we'd call it the Brady Bunch, where one spouse has kids from one marriage and the other spouse has kids from another marriage, and they bring them together. However, this was mixed, social status mix. Apparently, the governor's husband, her second husband, his daughter was on the poorer side of town, and she was rebellious, and she went her own way, and she got involved with drugs and stuff like that. And so the governor's husband had tried to save his grandson, and he was fought the whole way, and until the mother died, till his granddaughter died of drugs and stuff. So then he got possession of the kid, but by that point it was too late. The kid had his own ideas in his brain. And the governor has called them because she discovers her step grandson has been misbehaving terribly the past couple of months, and she gets sent a film or sees a film called the snuff film, where they're strangling a 15-year-old girl to death on film. So they investigate it, and they at first accuse the governor's step grandson of doing the deed, and he says that he did not do it, and he doesn't know who the girl is, and JP and Mel believe him. And then we get involved. Well, you really don't need that. So we did that. So, but what strikes them as odd about the step grandson is that he considers art death pictures, pictures of dead people, of the Spanish Inquisition, of all those kind of situations. It's really disturbing. And when you first hear about all this, you totally absolutely believe the kid could have done this. But once you meet him and you hear him express himself, you believe that no, he didn't have a part in it. But the incident, the young lady who was on the film was killed with a scarf, and the scarf is found in his room. So obviously it sounds to me like somebody is framing him, which leads to the situation is that he commits suicide the very next day. So there's something going on here. And it takes a few chapters to get going, but it's a very multi-layered, very complex story, and you can follow it very easily because you're driving along with JP and Mel, and you're learning the story as it progresses, as they pick up the pieces, and they're trying to figure out what this girl that was killed from the wrong side of the tracks, although Josh was from the wrong side of the tracks too, but how he's now, living with the governor, how he connects to this lady, this young girl. So they're trying to make the connection, and one thing leads to another, and they find out the girl was killed. They actually find the body, but apparently she was killed after Josh committed suicide. So obviously he couldn't have done it if he was dead. Then we get an emotional situation. And I have mentioned, we have talked about this with previous books, and it's one of the reasons I like this book. Oh, I got an itch. I'm sorry. I love genealogy. I am a genealogist. I used to have a website. If I ever get money again, I'm going to bring it back. Because I called the company the other day, and I said to them, is my website still out there in the stratosphere of the internet? And they were like, yes. And I was like, cool. And they were like, $400, please. And I'm like, if I only had the money. So I recently got a publishing deal about this big. It's about 2 pennies for some genealogical materials that'll probably never see the light of day. But the website was over 500-600 pages, maybe more, contained tons, thousands and thousands of pieces of information. And when I first started it, I was the hit of the town. I was getting 20, 30, 40,000 visitors a week. You would not believe. And then this little thing called Ancestry came along, and then Family Search came along. And I went from getting all those visitors and all those compliments and all that research requests. I was doing research, I was doing professional research, to nothing, to zero, to zilch, to nada for over 15 years, maybe 10, 15 years. My site totally went completely kablooey. Absolutely. So, and I mean, I supported it for over 10 years after that. And I finally, as much as I like to talk about it, and it was a site I hadn't really paid attention to it myself. But it was connected to a whole bunch of other websites, to Roots Web, and I finally just had to let it go. But if I ever get money again, I'll put it back up. But at least I know it's still out there in the stratosphere. That's good to know. So when we have talked about it in the past about JP's, come here, JP's childhood, and how his mother had a relationship with her father, and it went to hell in a handbasket, and they both, out of pride, out of stubbornness, out of I'm right, you're wrong, I'm the parent, you're not situation, estranged himself from his daughter, and his daughter had a child that was JP. And it really hurt because he missed out on his daughter's life. He missed out on his grandson's life because of pride and arrogance and the whole 9 yards, while his wife, the grandmother, who suffered in silence like the good woman that she was trained to be because she was from that generation, which if you also read my Counterfeit Lady series, I did the book the other day. Why would you not want the right to vote? And I was talking with some people the other day, and they said because the ladies had been brainwashed to believe that their place was in the kitchen barefoot and pregnant, that they were trained to be that way. So JP's grandmother the husband had said no contact, so she had no contact. But what she did was whenever anything appeared in the newspaper with his Cub Scouts, when he became a police officer, when anything was published about JP in the newspaper, the grandmother copied it and she kept a scrapbook. So we never hear his father had, they were going to be married, his mother and father, but his father died before that could happen. He had a motorcycle accident. And we never really have wandered into the father side of the family. It was just never even thought of. So when JP gets an email, I did the genealogical thing and made a chart. It's just me. I made a chart. I made a chart of the genealogical references. And it turns out that on the side, Mel calls Ames and has him check it out because Ames is the lawyer. And while I'm not going to spoil the mystery here, and I'll get back to that in a second because we're only a couple chapters in. But apparently these people are quite rich, so they're not going to milk JP for anything. And if they had known about JP sooner, they might have done some. But they thought that when they received the letter from JP's mother 40 years ago that she was fishing for money, she was looking for a handout. So they never actually investigated it. Hold on, she's biting the wire. Smokey, stop that. Don't bite the wire. Don't. Smokey, come over here. Good, she's coming. I don't have to stop. So, come here. 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 I know how much you hate being on camera. Come here. I know. It's horrible. Your toes are being cut off. I know. It's horrible. I know. It's torture. She's torture. She hates it. Oh my God, my mommy's taking my toes off. Are you finished with your dramatics now? You know, Sinatra would just sit here and be quiet, and he'd love all the attention. But see, because I want to give her attention, she doesn't want it. So she's going to go. I wish my cat, I need another emotional support cat. You know, I could have gotten my website back if I had sold that insulin. My emotional support cat was on insulin. But no, I gave it away to some needy people. So I gave $450 of insulin away plus needles to a person who needed it and couldn't afford it. And you know, I did it because I didn't want to throw the stuff away. And I offered it to a couple of organizations and they declined for legal reasons. So I want a pussycat to live. So I gave it all away because yeah. So I digress again. I'm sorry. They always tell you all these things you read on the internet. But anyway, JP gets this email. My name is Sally Smathers. I believe you are my cousin, my mother's brother's son. I hope you'll forgive me for writing you like this, but time is of the essence. My mother, Hannah Greenwald, is in her 80s and now not doing very well. I am her only child. At her instance, I've been sorting out the house here in Beaumont, Texas, where she has lived all her life. And JP was named after Beaumont from where his father was from. Texas, where she lived all her life. The house originally belonged to her parents, my grandparents, Frederick and Hilda Mencken. My grandmother lived here with my parents after Grandpa died Mencken in the 60s. I knew from the stories I'd heard as a girl that my mother had a brother named Hank. His full name was Henry Russ Mencken. Russo was my grandmother's maiden name. From what I gathered over the years, Hank joined the Navy in World War II, went away, and never came home. He died in a motorcycle accident before being shipped overseas. There were a lot of men who didn't come home after the war. I had a number of girlfriends whose fathers didn't come home at all or who came home as decorated heroes. From what I could gather around the dinner table, Hank wasn't one of those. He was a bit of a scallywag, sort of the black sheep of the family, who was given a choice between joining the service and going to jail. Compared to jail, the U.S. Navy must have seemed like a reasonable option. As I said, according to my mother, Hank was a bit of a wild thing. By the time he joined the services, he had been in enough trouble that my grandparents, especially Grandpa Mencken, pretty much washed their hands of him. You probably can't imagine a parent doing something like that to his own child. Wait, isn't that what JP's grandfather did to his mother when she was in the way of a child? How could you do that as a parent? But I'll leave you to read the story. It's true. Everything she writes is true. And we'll just get back to the murder. And JP does eventually goes meet her. And apparently she doesn't know about his financial situation either. So Kelly and them are going to be rich if they ever decide to whatever. So they go to see the governor, and they talk about the investigation, and all these clues come up that they investigate Josh's murder. He had a watch. The watch was missing for days. All of a sudden, it showed up last evening. Apparently, Josh had asked permission to leave the house, even though he wasn't supposed to. And he left the house for a couple of hours, and when he came back, it's when he committed suicide. So they're also trying to figure out what happened during those few hours he was out of the house. Who did he meet? Who did he see? What happened that caused him to take his own life? And the murder gets multiple layers. There's multiple things going on here. There's the snuff films going on. There's the bullying. It turns out Josh was bullied. text messages, and he was making records and documentation of it all. For what reason, we don't know. And who was doing the bullying will just like, you probably go, yeah, I could see it. But it's wrenching to find out who was doing it, because you don't expect that kind of bullying. And I'm sorry to say, spoiler alert, from the inside, from in your house. You don't expect your family members to treat you like that just because they believe they're better than you. Because this, like I said, it is a blended family, and it's just wrenching. Are you back? Are you going to give me comfort during this difficult book? So they go to talk to the victim. Once they identify the victim, they go to talk to her parent, and apparently they were trying to advance themselves by taking steady employment, cleaning up their house, cleaning up the kids, trying to get the kids educated, one micro step at a time, but they were making a little bit of progress. But their daughter was still being sort of rebellious, and they didn't know what she was involved in, but she had come home with strangle marks on her on her neck, and she refused to tell them about it. And apparently she'd been making money making snuff films so that she could go to cheerleading camp. Cheerleading camp was going to be expensive, and she wanted to go. Her mother thought she was doing prostitution, but she wasn't doing that. She was doing the other thing. They get a bowl full of information that starts to put the pieces together, and they get a death. The body is actually found in another jurisdiction, and they have to deal with bureaucrats. And I really don't want to go into all this, but finds out that the kids were volunteering in a shelter, a daytime shelter where you went just to hang out, just for some place to go during the day, just for some meals during the day, just for some computer time and TV time and stuff like that. And apparently it's the shelter that's the core of the entire thing. That everybody involved in this particular murder or murderers and abuse and sexual abuse, set the core piece of information is this daytime home. And that really puts all the puzzle pieces together. You'll have to read it, because I don't want to really tell you too much, but I do like the little bit of genealogy thrown in there. I like the ending, and I liked that it was one point of view. I liked that it was, well, Mel's and JP's. I liked Mel's and JP's relationship. She's really good for him. And I liked that the story moved on at a quick pace. There were no I've read some books where it goes and it jerks and it's back and forth and it's jerking. This is one smooth ride. It's one quick, smooth ride. And it's really good. I'm going to give it 4 stars on Goodreads. I'm checking these books as I do my Goodreads. That was my New Year's resolution, to keep track of the books I read, because last year I read so many things so fast that I never even thought to keep track of them. So this year I'm going to keep track, because I read probably 400 books last year. So I'm going to do the next one right after this, Ring of Dead. It's a short story, the J.P. Beaumont short story, so look for that later today or tomorrow, and we'll get it done, because it should be only a few chapters. But it sounds really interesting, and I want to check it out. I might have missed it in the past, but it just became available on Kindle. I want to have a physical book when I talk about it. I like a physical book, but this one is only an ebook. So we'll see what happens. So I hope you check it out. I hope you like my reviews, and I could use some support. But I could really use your support in my things. They tell you all this stuff, and it's not true. But anyways, it's a really good multi-layered mystery, how these kids are involved, who the real culprit is, and who the snooty people that think they can do anything If they give the cop enough money, he'll look the other way type situation. What happens when they do something to the point where the cop can't look away anymore? So you'll have to check it out. And let me see here. Are you gonna come one more time? Uh-huh. Come here. Come here. Come here, Miss Dying. Come here, Miss Dying. Come here. My protesting child. That's what she is. Look at that tail go. Whap, 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 whap. Yes, I know. You're being tortured. She's being tortured. Her toes are being pulled out. Have a good one.